Documents just released explains how the government grappled with the international protection system in late 2023. It said it states annual costs could eventually end up as high as 1.5 billion euro a year if the accommodation system wasn't prepared for the EU Migration Pact, which could result in Ireland taking in far higher numbers of asylum seekers. The paper said tented refugee camps, which we were already seeing, might be needed in Ireland, and that the government was being gouged by the private sector for accommodation that was higher cost and lower quality. Justice Minister Jim O'Callaghan said last week that almost 950 million euro was spent on the accommodation of refugees and persons taking international protection by the end of last October. While costs passed 1 billion euro for the first time in 2024. That year's spend was a 54% increase on the 651 million paid in 2023 for accommodating asylum seekers. The document showed the state was also deeply concerned about a High Court case over the right to housing for international protection applicants. But some was already know the outcome of that. Compensation had to be paid out. They warned of a significant compensation award and how it could create a pull factor for refugees wanting to come to Ireland. When it was an incentive there for them, of course they're going to come to Ireland. A briefing warned a scheme may be required for the 1,500 applicants who were not accommodated from January to May 2023, costing further tens of millions of euro money. Legal counsel is not optimistic, as we have already lost a substantive case that Ireland breached the EU obligation to provide reception to those seeking international protection. For those of you coming in, guys, this is just to let you know where your money is going. The internal records released under the Freedom of Information Act also document serious failings in existing accommodation centres, with Mr O'Callaghan flagging the high cost the state was paying for providers that were non-compliant. Of course, guys, this is in reference to asylum seekers. We are paying a lot of money for the provision, but it's not the government's money to pay anybody, guys, it's your money. We are paying a lot of money for the provision of this service, and the provider should be compelled to comply with the terms of the contract. Another critical inspection of a centre in Dublin was also remarked by Mr O'Callaghan. In a comment he wrote, "I also note that the report identifies inconsistent levels of support provided to residents, resulting from the fact that the reception officer was on site only 1 day a week." Well, lads, thanks for joining in. Following another series of critical reports by HIQA, department officials said these were disappointing results. Some have adult children sharing bedrooms with younger children due to space constraints, one civil servant noted. For those of you that's just after coming in, guys, this is letting you know where your money is going. In another Q&A document, an official warned that attempts to move successful applicants out of state accommodation were likely to be controversial. A note said, "We can expect similar criticism and resistance when we take similar actions in the deportation process, notwithstanding the fact that neither cohort are entitled to stay. Yet having former applicants remain in accommodation centres creates significant risk that new applicants who are legally entitled could be unaccommodated. The name of the official who wrote the memo, of course, withheld his identity. In answer to another question, they wrote, "The numbers keep coming. The vast majority await a decision on their case. So what happens in the meantime? More arrives in." It is, well, it's not a rumour, it's the actual truth. For every one immigrant that exits Ireland, 2 immigrants is replaceable. In answer to another question, they wrote, "The numbers keep coming. The vast majority await a decision on their case, so more arrive than move out." Another briefing note said the average overall rate for a night of accommodation was found to be around €74. It said, based on the population at the time of the analysis, the daily cost associated with non-state owned accommodation was €1.5 million. That was per night. How much is it costing per week? 10.66 of your money. Excuse me. It added that as the number of arrivals grew, the state was becoming increasingly reliant on emergency accommodation, which was costing just over €78 of your money a night. In the documents, concerns were also raised over the impact of the EU Migration Pact, bringing many more asylum seekers to Ireland. Now, this last paragraph will let you know what's happening between 2027 and 2028. The increase could be in a range from 22,000 to 24,000 asylum seekers a year from 2027 to 2028. Onwards. Many of the records were withheld by the Department of Justice and were only released following a lengthy appeal under Freedom of Information laws. Guys, it's costing Irish taxpayers €1.5 million to have asylum seekers in the country. Is it any wonder that housing, health, homelessness, mental health crisis is not being addressed when money is being spent? Yesterday you found out about spin doctors on a video previous to this. So between spin doctors and asylum seekers, it's costing you, the Irish taxpayer, €2 billion of your money per year. Okay guys, thanks for checking in, and we will talk to you later. Enjoy your weekend.